Bank of England BOE policy rate versus the UK CPI year over year. So for the CPI, if no one knows, that's a consumer price index. Of course, the next logical question is about the Fed and how they might respond. I don't think this will be a roadblock for them, or let me rephrase that, the Fed has a window to cut. So what you're saying there is the Fed has a very small window to actually start cutting rates. I think if you look at what's that betting thing, Polymarket,
Yeah.
there's like a 92% chance of a rate cut in September now.
Oh, no, it's dropped.
Since oh,
No,
it
it's
dropped
dropped.
now?
Yeah, it's down to 78.
Okay, 78% since I think it rose to 92 on literally the day of the Jackson Hole
Yeah.
thing. But then they go on to say, I still believe the MIT inflation domino sequence we often discuss in these reports: commodity inflation, early cycle; goods inflation, mid cycle; services inflation, late cycle. And services inflation is what we just looked at effectively here, which is this Empire Manufacturing Survey. So it shows that we're potentially entering that late cycle bracket. Um, it allows enough time to get rates lower, especially given the ongoing weakness. And we're seeing in both employment data and unemployment surveys outside of leading elements like hours and temp help, which is the other half of their mandate. Raoul and I have said that repeatedly across multiple cycles, the Fed and other major central banks are almost always late to hike and late to cut. And they usually continue cutting well into the initial rebound of inflation. The chart below illustrates the point perfectly. Oh, it would be the UK that does that as well, that illustrates this perfectly. This happens nearly every cycle. The Fed typically ignores the first rebound in inflation, driven by a pickup in the business cycle and rising commodity prices. They only really start to worry once inflation breadth begins to rise. This is not the case now, but it is something we will consider to track closely as the cycle progresses. And you can see here, Bank of England's policy rate in white, we've cut, what's that, 100 basis points since September 2024. And the UK CPI, and that's inflation effectively, or a measure of inflation, has been rising since, or has risen 1.9% since September 2024. So good old UK giving us this demonstration here.